All right, guys, welcome back to Real Estate Today. We've got a fun topic for you going on today. We're going to talk about what really sells houses and the correlation between what's going on with the inventory, what's going on with the days on market, and what's going on with pricing, right? So how do you coordinate, what's the coordination between all three of those things, and what matters, what doesn't, what are the myths, and what we need to chat about. So you are here with myself, Jeff Beggins, with my two brothers.
Craig Beggins on this side.
Mike Puma.
Gentlemen, let's talk. We're in a strange market right now because there is no market. We're in a bunch of strange micro markets, and they're very, 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 very different. And so I just want to caution all the listeners, agents, and the general public to tune out what you're hearing, a lot of it, because anytime somebody says the real estate market is blank, everything they're saying is complete bullshit after that blank, because there is no real estate market.
Right.
Period. Right. So we talked about this a lot, but I want to make sure that we remind you about this one. So the reality of it is, let's say, Mike, you're about to sell a house, right? The only thing that matters to you is what? Let's talk about that. Like, what should a seller care about when they're ready to sell their home? They made the decision, life is changing, it's time to sell. What should they really care about?
I know.
What do you say?
What else is available on the day the buyer comes to town and wants to buy?
Is that it?
Well, there's condition of the property, the affordability of the property, the insurability of the property, the condition of the roof. I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff.
What's my timeline? When do I need to be out? Because that determines how long I can sit on the market, which determines where I need to be priced at. So all of those things come into play. And I think we'll dive deep into this, but I think one of the things that everyone needs to realize right now is we're not in a bad market.
Not at all.
I keep hearing people say we're in a bad market. No, we're not. We're in a normal market. We're not in a COVID, post-COVID, 37 offers on every property. But Craig, you've been doing this for 32 years now. How many times have you seen a market like that where you were almost every house was going 50, 60, 70,000 above ask with 10s, 20, 30 offers? How many times have you seen that in your 32 years?
The closest I saw was 2005 when
Okay.
the interest rates were low and the loans were free.
So
And
in 32 years, you've seen maybe one other example that was close.
20 years ago.
Right. So I think the problem is that perception's reality. So a lot of us, because that just happened, so many agents and so many consumers look at that as being the norm. That is not the norm. That is a complete anomaly. When we remove that, then we get back to what's real and we get back to what's realistic. And when we look at that, if you look at our current state in most micro markets, we're in a normal market. We're not in a fantastic market where you're going to sit here and you have to be priced right. You have to have all the little things done right. And the things that we preach, pre-inspection, get everything done, button up. You got to do those things. And if you do those things, the property will sell. If we overprice it, it's not going to sell, right? I mean, that's the reality, but that is a normal market. So I just want to push that into everyone's head. This is not a bad market. It's a normal market. But most agents in this business haven't even experienced a normal market.
Right. Well, I was talking to one of our agents, and she said, this neighborhood has 81 homes for sale. I said, this neighborhood also has 80 different micro markets, or eight different micro markets. There's condos, there's townhomes, there's cottage homes, there's off-water homes, there's canal front homes, there's lakefront homes, there's non-lakefront homes, and then there's a whole new section of new construction. There's 8 different markets. If you break that up, there's only 10 houses for sale per market. That's not a lot of inventory. But inventory is higher now than it has been, right? And there's still seller greed. A bunch of homes came up on the market here that were brand new construction, and the builder put them on at an aggressive price, and investors bought them, and they added $200,000 or $300,000 to them and tried to flip them again. And now they're all pissed off because this is crazy. How come it's not selling? Well, your house didn't go up $300,000 from the day you bought it to the day, a month later. it just didn't happen. So we want to talk about inventory first.
Let me give you a two inventory point. Let me give you a visual example, right? So I just opened up Zillow, which most people do, right?
Right.
Zillow owns the eyeballs of the world. I remember pandemic time, there was one, this is just Madeira Beach where I live, right? There were 3 dots of
Right.
available homes in 2020, nothing for sale. You could say it's a tight inventory market. It's not, right? There are plenty of choices of homes. So you could say this Madeira Beach market is saturated, is full of inventory, and the market is tough. But you'd be wrong, right?
Totally.
Because inside of this picture are probably 20 different micro markets on this one. And so I want to guide you through this because it's an example. I was talking to one of my neighbors, right? She's thinking about selling her home. So I'll just kind of show you in. Her home is in this micro market. Okay. This micro market has a little bit of competition, but it doesn't. She's not waterfront, not in her market, not in her market, not in her market, right? So now she's got 3 competitors really in that marketplace, 4 competitors. So what really matters here is, to our point, inventory and pricing, right? And days on the market. All that matters to her.
Available when a buyer comes to town that wants to be
That's
in
right.
that neighborhood off the water.
This one's going to be probably in the 700-ish range, right? So a guy's flying in from the UK, direct flight to Tampa Bay. He's got 700 grand in his pocket, cash, right? Right? He's ready to go make a deal. So he's going to look at only what he has money for, right? That's it. He's going to look at these properties that fit his criteria of this, that, and the other bedrooms, locations, areas, and he's going to narrow it down to 4 or 5 houses. It's really going to come down to 2, and then he's going to put offers in on 1 or 2 of them, and then he's going to pick one of them, right? So that's what the buyers actually do. So if I'm coaching you as a seller as to thinking about coming on the market, we're going to sit back. First of all, there's 2 decisions to be made. Number one, who do you want to be representing you in this next conversation? Because you don't hire the agent because of a price, right? That's the dumbest thing you could ever do. You're hiring an agent and a company for
The
one
coach.
thing, for knowledge, experience, representation, and skill. Okay. That's what you're hiring for. I want your guidance to show me how to position my property in my micro market to maximize my goal. I didn't say to maximize my price, did I? Maximize my goal. There's some people that just want out this weekend. There's some people that want out 6 months from now. Some people just want to pioneer a new price point for the neighborhood and don't really care, right? They know they're not going to sell, but they just want to play. So it depends on what your goal is, how we're going to structure and position you. And that starts after you hire us, right? When you say, I want you to represent us, great. We're going to work. We're going to go check out the home. We're going to get a pre-inspection on your home. We're going to give a checklist about the home. We're going to get the pressure washers over there. You're going to touch up your paint. You're going to decobweb. You're going to declutter. You're going to clean the floors. You're going to do all the stuff because we're going to make the best splash we possibly can on the marketplace. And because we're going to look mostly at what we're competing with. So as we go in a competitive, it's a head-to-head game, right? This is skill. This is a fight. This is a battle, right? How are we going to win? Because that one down the street is our competition, and we're going to beat them. We're either going to have to be nicer, prettier, in better shape, or a better price, right? And that depends on your time frames where we're going to go on this one. So all of these come together, and so there is no Zestimate says all that stuff's crap. It's what am I competing with? The guy with the wad of cash. What is he going to look at? Let's see the one down the street. Nicer kitchen, crappier kitchen. Better view, shittier view. Nicer carpet flooring, not nice for it. Nice fixtures, not nice fixtures. Spacious, high ceilings, new windows, new roof, new doors. All of that stuff enters into the equation of saying, all right, who is truly better, right?
Well, I think one thing, though, that I think is an interesting debate here is as the rates have gone up from where they were, right? I have noticed, at least in a lot of our agents' markets, and especially up my way, the what used to be, hey, I want to really live right here has changed. That mindset has changed because the buyers have been forced to change. So now what I've noticed is when you have a buyer come, at least on the last listing I had, I I would say 90% of the showings, when I talked to that agent, they weren't just looking in Wesley Chapel. They were looking in Zephyr Hills, they were looking in Land O'Lakes, they were looking in Lutz, they were looking in Brandon, right? So what I found is a lot of these buyers they've widened their area because it's less now about, oh, I want to live on Oak Street. And some people still are, right? So it's important to understand there are some people that are like, I want to live here. I want a waterfront. I want this, right? But there's a lot of other buyers that are saying, listen, I want those things, but I'm willing to sacrifice and maybe make a little bit of a longer drive, or maybe sacrifice my personal lifestyle a little bit to be able to get more house, or be able to get a bigger yard, or be able to get this, or and they're willing to do that because they have to get the price point they want for the rate to get the payment where they want it to be.
No, but let me jump in on that, Mike, because very, very accurate. Everything you're saying is accurate. I want to draw the distinction though, with the verbiage that you used on this one. Right, when people are looking at Zephyr Hills and Wesley Chapel and Odessa and all those things, they're not buyers yet, right? They're lookers, right? They're thinking about buying a home. They don't know. I mean, what do we classify buyers? I have to buy. I know where I want to live, and I have a time frame where I want to be. Right? What you just described is that second question. They don't know the answer to yet. Right? They're still lookers. Right? And nothing wrong with that. But I just want to draw the distinction from if you're if you say you're a buyer, you're not a buyer till you're buying. Right? You're a looker that's deciding, do I want this commute, that commute, this house, this school district, this cheaper house, private school, this one, traffic goes this way, traffic goes that way. You're still sorting information. Right? There comes a time where you say, you know what, honey, you're right. Zephyr Hills, Shady Oak subdivision, that's where we feel we want to be. That's when you turn the switch to become a buyer, right? And it's all looker focused from that point in time. And as a seller, you're sometimes going to be trapped in the looker process of these guys checking you out by the back and forth. That's why having a good agent matters, because before someone's going to get to one of our sellers, we're going to know where they are. Are they lookers? Are they buyers? Are they real? Do they have a pre-approval? Are they talking with a lender? What do they have going on? Because we want to make sure people are serious about moving in here. So I just want to draw that distinction between lookers and buyers. But you're right. Price points have forced people to different areas.
Prove it. To prove it, the agent I was talking about this house, there's been 26 showings. And of the 26 showings, the seller thought, oh my God, this is the one. But of the 26 showings, only 4 buyers pulled the trigger and bought a house. The other 22 are in the searching process, right?
Which is 18 to 24 months.
Yes, and they're still looking. So we've got a pipeline of buyers now, and they're watching the market, right? And that's it. So a lot of times we think every time our house is shown that there's a buyer coming, there's a prospect coming, and they're deciding between, in my neighborhood, they're deciding between Mirror Bay and Symphony Isles, or Mirror Bay and Cay, or Dolphin Cove, or any of those other little communities. Because until they say, damn it, no, I want to be in Mirror Bay and I want that amenity package, then Symphony becomes irrelevant, Dolphin Cove becomes irrelevant, and Cobia Cay becomes irrelevant.
I think my point is, like, I know one in particular who was very interested in our property, found a very similar floor plan. They'd rather have been in Wesley Chapel, but they found a very similar floor plan in Brandon and ended up buying in Brandon instead because it was $20,000 less, because there was more options in that area. So they were able to negotiate a better price, right? And in Wesley Chapel, to get that same floor plan, we really were the only one. So my point being is, I think there's just a lot of competition now where it's a wider range that you're dealing with, because they are willing. There are people that are saying, listen, with where the rates are, I'd rather be here, but I'll buy there instead because I can get it for 20 grand, 30 grand less, and I'll make the drive.
And also depends on the product too at the same time, right? Are there replacements?
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, there are some people that, depending on what you're selling, they're like, no, I want to be on the Gulf. I want to be here. I want this school. There are those buyers out there for sure. But I think there are agents dealing with the challenge of the days of, I want to be on Shady Hills Road is a little different right now, where because the rates are driving that, right? I might want to be on Shady Hills Road, but I might have to go buy over here because I physically can't stomach the payment or whatever the case is. So just something to keep in mind.
Let me go to a point real quick, because if you're a buyer right now, I'm talking with you, right? So many people are saying, oh God, this sucks. The rates are so high. I can't wait for them to come down, right? If you're thinking that, it's not a wrong thing to think that, but I want to offer you another thought, right, to consider, right? When you look at a visual like this, okay, and let's say I want to buy in here, one of these people has to sell, right? I'm gonna be your buyer's agent for a second, right? In representation, we're going to talk to every one of these buyers that's potentially in your price point, have a house that's a consideration for you, and I'm going to find out who's bleeding, if you will. Right now, this is my buyer agent hat on. Somebody here is going to give me a concession that I can get for you, that we're going to buy your rate down a point, right? A point and a half, right? This is the smartest time to buy anything is right now when other people aren't, because I can go on to days on the market, which I want to segue into. Days on the market when agents are looking at property. When you go on Zillow, you can see it's been on the market for 182 days. What does that mean, right? You don't really know is the answer, but what does the suggestion mean?
That seller's been waiting a long time, and they're getting more desperate.
I want to sell, man. What's going on, right? Like, why didn't it sell? Let's go generically. What's the reason typically things sit on the market for a while? It's one of two, right? It's either the market or it's the product. One of two things, right? It's either there's other properties competing with you that are selling, and if other things are selling and you're not, sorry to tell you, it's you. Okay. If the other ones in the market and the price point aren't selling, it's the market, right? And there's no middle area there. It's either the market or it's the product. We've got beautiful product that's just not selling, but nothing else is selling in that specific market segment at the moment. It's not the product, it's the market, right? So we got to figure out which one of those is the case. But psychologically speaking, what do you want to do? What advice from a seller? We just gave you the advice to a buyer. Find the ones with the higher days on market and see who's willing to offer concessions for buyer closing cost, or that's the time to see if we can get the jet ski thrown in, or see if you can have them leave the furniture, some of that stuff. There's people that will do that when they get more desperate, right?
Well, once again, it's going to determine on the house, right? Like I was negotiating with a seller for one of our agents last week, and the house is on a fantastic lot. It's on the water. It's a big ass 250 feet waterfront, but it's got a 23-year-old roof, and it's a 1-story house, and the roof's going to be $90,000, right? And the dock needs to be replaced. That's at least $40,000. So there's $130,000 the buyer's got to bring to closing. After closing, have cash available to buy this house, and they're going to need $300,000 or $400,000 down to buy the house. So they're making it really hard for a buyer to buy their house because it's going to require so much more cash than to buy another home in the neighborhood that just already replaced the roof and replaced the dock, right? So those little things make a difference too. And sometimes we have to consider, and I had this conversation with that seller, sometimes you got to consider, what is the buyer dealing with? You've owned that house for 22 years, your taxes are $12,000 a year. Theirs are going to be $24,000 a year. Your insurance is $8,000 a year. Theirs is going to be $16,000.
You've got a 3.5% interest rate. They're going to have a 7.8.
Yeah, it's a whole different story. So that's an empathy clause that you got to have that conversation so the seller understands what the buyer's dealing with, right? And that's part of the seller taking into account how to price their home. If you need a new roof and you need a new dock, it might be worth $1.5 million, but the buyer can only afford to pay $1,250,000, and only so many buyers can afford $1,250,000 because they don't have the extra $200,000 to make the physical improvements. In which case, put it on the market for $1.5 million and offer a $200,000 concession, and we have roofers that'll put a roof on the house before closing and get paid at closing. But that's relationships.
I was just chatting with a seller the other day. He's got a nice piece of property. It's free and clear. Doesn't have a mortgage on it. I said, "Do you need the cash?" He's like, "No, I just really want to do it." So let's offer seller financing, right? Why don't you do a little attractive rate? What if you said, "Give me 5% of my money for the next 18 months," right? And make it easier for somebody to buy it, right? You could preserve your price point, right? You're gonna get your money. Give them interest only for 5% for a year and a half. Right? We all know
that, even a CD is paying 5%. I just checked this out. The CD is paying 5% right now,
right?
For a 6-month CD, 4% on just a savings account,
right?
I think we 6 or 7%,
or 5 if you want to be if you want your price, right? What do you want? Do you want price or do you want time? It's time or money on that aspect. This one was saying, well, if you think that would move the property, so what that's going to do is open you up to a broader buyer pool. That's all it does, because there's certain people that can afford this, but there's a lot more people that can afford that. Especially if you what kind of down payment do you want? Do you need 20 or 30? Well, what if you needed 10? Your buyer pool goes from here to here, right? If you were offering 5% interest only for a year as a teaser rate, then a lot more people can do that. So it's just options, guys. This is the time for creativity. This is the time for competitive nature to see, all right, who am I competing with? What are those other three houses? And how do I beat them? What do I need to do? And be prepared for their counterpunch, because if Craig's on the market for, 780 and I go hit it at 760, it's pretty much public records that both of us bought our house for 500, right? So I'll just go down to 749. He'll go down to 738. Someone will go to 729. Somebody will do this. And then before you know it, we dumped out at 699 and we sold our house, but we still made 200 grand, right? So that's what you're going to see in some competitive micro markets. So it really depends. And sometimes you might want to say, this isn't my time. There's 4 other similar homes for me for sale right now. We advise you don't have to sell. Don't right now, right? Let's wait. Let's pause. Let that one clear out. Let's clear that street out. And then let's hit the market, right? That's what you need advice for, to see the right time to position a micro market.
Well, I think the biggest piece of advice for anyone looking to sell is remove all doubt, right?
Yeah.
You know what's wrong with the house. And if you don't want to fix it, right? If you need a new roof, you need new flooring, you need whatever the house needs. If you're not willing to do it, get it quoted, right? So the quotes are sitting there. Because what's going to happen, right? And you've all done it on the buy side. You're going to walk in and your mind's going to start going. And I guarantee you, our heads are going to over exaggerate whatever it is. Oh my God, this roof needs to be done. It's going to be 150 grand. Well, it may only be 90 grand, maybe 80 grand, right? But if I have a quote there from 1 to 3 roofers that say, hey, we know that you're going to need to do the roof. Here's how much it's going to cost. We've already accounted for that in our price. Or we're giving a seller concession to it, right? Now they're not making the price up. You're telling them what it needs to be. If you know that there's little repairs, right, that need to be done, either do them or at least have them quoted. Oh, the house is missing a pool. You may not want to put a pool in, but having a quote of multiple pools would really help, because in my head, maybe it's a $200,000 pool, but really I could get that pool for 100 grand. And here's a quote, and here's a design we had done. Those are little things that if you're not going to do the big expenses, at least have those things quoted, ready to go, have the house buttoned up, remove the doubt. Because especially the nicer the house, the more that buyer is walking through going, what in the hell, what's wrong with this? Something's wrong with it, right? Someone died here. There's something, right? They're coming up with it. It's how their heads work, right? That's just how we are. So you have to remove any doubt, and then you're going to be in a better position to move the property.
Right.
I think that's some great advice on this.
Okay, one more thing I want to talk about, the days on market discussion.
Yep.
Right, because I hear it happen all the time. Mostly it starts with agents saying, well, you've been on the market for 180 days. It's going to look bad to the public. We should probably take it off the market for 90 days so we can reset the clock to 0. And I hate that discussion. And we might differ on these opinions. But here's the deal, in my opinion. The days on market doesn't matter, because here's the definition. A house is worth what a buyer is willing to pay the day they decide to buy, right? And if you have been doing our advice and lowering the price, and your house is at the best price and it's the most attractive on the day they decide to buy, they're going to see it because they want to know what's going on, right? And when they can see the history in the MLS that it started at $1.3 million and it went to $1,250,000 and it went to $1.2 million, it went to $1.150,000, then it went to $1 million. And now it's at $1 million and everything else around it sold for $1.1 million, you're looking pretty attractive. But it goes to motivation, because if you're in a position where you can take your house off the market for 90 days and just wait, it makes me question your motivation to even be on the market for the first 6 months.
And you run a risk of some other ones coming on the market over the next couple of months while you're waiting.
Or your perfect buyer came and you weren't on the market.
That's right. You got to have your hook in the water to catch the fish.
You can't sell if you're not on the market. So I don't like the agents telling people take their house off the market for 90 days.
And as a buyer's agent, right, when you see that, you're usually thinking one of two things. Either that's a seller who's not very motivated, right, and doesn't have to sell, which is a potential issue that I want to know about, or they're getting close to desperation mode, right? Possibly. So all that's going to happen is any good agent is going to call that listing agent and say, hey, I've seen you've been on the market for 180 days. What's going on? Tell me what's going on. That's it. And then shut up and let the listing agent tell you what's going on. What's the story? Oh, well, you know what? They priced really high. Thought we could get it. Market shifted. Now we're coming down. I think we're back to where we should be. Let them tell you the story, and then you're going to get an idea of whether it's a fit for you or your client or not. And as a listing agent, you should be able to tell that story, right? As long as you can do that, I don't think the days on market is a big issue. Is it going to get a question of, hey, tell me what's going on? Yeah, but that's going to happen regardless. So I wouldn't let that be a big
Because it could have been under contract with somebody for 3 months
exactly.
because they're under sale in New Jersey and their house didn't sell in New Jersey and now it had to come back active. It's no fault of anybody's. So stop the preconceived notions because it's just made up crap in your head. So people call. So the reality is when the guy comes in town with 700 grand in his pocket and your house is on the market, he don't care if it's 190 days on the market. He wants to go see it because it's in the location, the area that he wants. And that's our job as salespeople, to explain the situations out and make people feel comfortable to buy.
All right. So our goal today was to talk about inventory, pricing, and days on market. And I think we accomplished that today.
Check,
right?
check.
And my goal as the broker is to teach our agents to say the same type of thing. Or if not, share these videos with their customers and let them watch. I know a lot of agents have been doing that, saying, here, watch what my broker has to say about this. Right?
Love it. And we'd love your feedback too, guys. Put a little comment on here if you're watching on YouTube, and like it, share it with somebody who needs to see it, and give us something, one of the topics you'd like to see, one of the next ones. We want your interaction, guys. We're here for you guys. Empower, educate, encourage.
This is our focus for quarter 2. It's called Real Life Real Estate.
That's
and
right.
We're fortunate enough to have enough situations we have to solve on a daily basis that we have a lot of content that we can address. So
that's right.
Thank you for all of your time and attention.
Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.